coordinating with all the other agencies, Mr. President.
All right. So we're at least able to take care of the stranded passengers at our ports.
Yes, sir.
So the airports are operating.
Yes, sir. Right now, all the airports are operational. No? Maybe next slide, please. So these are the affected passengers, 67 delayed flights from October 21 to October 24. There are almost 29,000 passengers affected, either by delayed flights, canceled flights, or diverted flights. Okay. Next slide, please. So these are the regions affected, as mentioned earlier. 10,475 passengers were stranded, 111 vessels, and 2,839 rolling cargos. These are the rescue evacuation efforts from the Philippine Coast Guard. As I mentioned earlier, the Philippine Coast Guard has deployed 226 teams. They have deployed 130 aluminum and rubber boats. So the Philippine Coast Guard continues to monitor all these ports, and will issue clearance to sail when the situation improves. Next slide, please. So some of the operating lines, this is for the Philippine National Railways. There's no operation in Naga to Legazpi, Naga to Sipocot, and Calamba, Lucena. In Naga, the other day, the station was submerged with water. The officers of PNR assisted many passengers and employees, see to it that they are safe. The other, these are actions taken, removal of trees and debris ongoing, cleaning of stations in Naga, and as I mentioned, they have accommodated evacuees in Naga and Iriga. Next slide, please. So these are some of the pictures that were taken in Naga and Iriga. Next slide, please. For LRT1, fallen tree, there's fallen tree between EDSA and Libertad Station. The operator, the Light Rail Manila Corporation's engineering personnel were on site working to safely remove part of that tree. So yesterday at 7 p.m., the damage to the catenary system and have been worked on. So LRMC implemented limited operations. And it will be operational today, Mr. President.
All right, but at least that final highlighted that by 6:10 a.m. LRT1 has resumed from Baclaran to Roosevelt.
Yes, sir.
It's now Fernando Po Jr. Station.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So it's coming along. It's just we have to clean it up.
Yes, sir. We're back to
Clean
normal.
up the damage. Okay. Thank you, Sec Jimmy. That is, these effects on agriculture will be very, very early pa ito. So let's move up one for that. Well, I'll come back to it to see what we already have. Pero maaga masyado to make the proper estimates of what the damage is going to be. Perhaps in the areas kung saan na nakapasok yung mga DA para mag-assess. Pero marami pang hindi pa pwedeng puntahan eh. Especially doon sa malalayo. Anyway, so we'll get back to that. The next The next item on our agenda is a report from the SWD. Secretary Rex, you're already in Naga? Secretary Rex?
Okay. Good morning, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, as you instructed, we were able to land in Naga this morning. If you'll allow me, Mr. President, to introduce Mayor Legacion is beside me, and Congressman Bordado of Naga is also here. We're in our mobile command center in the City Hall of Naga. Mr. President, this morning I met with Governor Luigi Villafuerte, and basically the update is of his 36 local government units, 9 of them are still submerged underwater. Of the 36, 6 are partially submerged. But the good news there, Mr. President, is the local government unit has been quite aggressive in doing house-to-house food relay. They've been delivering the family food packs of DSWD using their boats, and they are doing it house-to-house. Basically, from my discussion with Governor Villafuerte this morning, they're okay with the food. Mr. President, his main concern was water. I know we did send the water purification systems, pero nagkataon, Mr. President, na ipit ho yung trucks sa Millaor kasi naputol ho yung road na yun, medyo baha pa ho. But as an action step, Mr. President, we spoke to Manila Water and Maynilad Water. And they have already provided us with quite substantial number of those 6-gallon na lalagyan. And we are now working with the Air Force so we can airlift this. Manila Water is providing us 400 pieces of 5-gallon containers, while Maynilad is doing 2,000 6-liter containers. So I think we'll be okay with water, Mr. President, as long as we're able to deploy using the C-130s. We're working with General Browner and DND on this. Mr. President, the province is also expressing their concern on fuel kasi wala na hong nakakapasok na mga tankers kasi nga lahat sila na-trap sa Millaor, and in the south side, hindi pa rin ho nakakapasok from the Matnog port as reported by Secretary Jimmy. But on top of that, Mr. President, they have also expressed their concern about recovery efforts in terms of agriculture, housing, and they are also, I'm working with the DOH already also on augmenting their health capacities. So, Mr. President, that's all for the province, the concerns of the province. If you'll allow me, sir, I'll let Mayor Legacion speak for Naga City.
Yes,
Magandang
please,
hapon po. Magandang umaga po,
Magandang
Mr. President, sa lahat po na kasama po natin ngayon. Of the total land area po ng Naga City, around 30% po ay binaha, and around 70% of our population ay nakaranas po ng pagbaha. At sa ngayon, I think around 20,000 families residing in about 9 barangays ay baha pa rin. At dito ngayon nakafocus yung aming rescue operations as well as relief operations. Pero I must admit, Mr. President, at hinihingi po namin yung tulong, particularly ng DSWD, kinukulang na po kami sa pagkain, sa tubig. Kung matutulungan po kami ay malaking utang na loob po namin ito sa pamahalaang national, sa inyo pong administration, Mr. President. Meron pong casualty na nai-report po sa amin, 13, at of course maraming damage to properties, both personal, even real properties. Meron po kaming isang tulay na nasira o sinira ng bagyong si Kristine, at pinahinto ko na, isinarawan na po namin para hindi na masyadong hindi na makakos pa ng buhay at anumang damage. So ang tingin po namin, Mr. President, hangga't hindi pa nako-cross yung highways sa Millaor, at hangga't hindi pa po nakakarating yung mga ayuda coming from Metro Manila, from the national government, ay mas mahihirapan pa po kami.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President, I updated the mayor that right now, for our regional warehouse, we still have 86,000 family food packs. And I assured him, magkatabi man ho kami, na he can pick it up anytime. He has a standing request of 30,000. We're ready to distribute that, Mr. President. Of course, he'll take charge with the last mile, pero we still have food on the ground. And I assured him already that ready ho ang national government to augment his needs. Now, yung water po, as I mentioned, Manila Water and Maynilad Waters ready to go. The moment we get the airlifts from Air Force, we should be able to provide both the province and Naga City.
All right. Thank you, Secretary Rex. Mukhang the problem is not the availability of relief goods and the responders, but it's the accessibility dun sa areas, especially in Kamsur, dahil marami pang nakalubog. Pero nag-evacuate tayo ng mabuti. So wala nang isolated na kailangang i-rescue o meron pa rin, nagre-rescue pa rin tayo ng tao na doon sa flooded areas.
Meron pa rin, Mr. President, mga ilan-ilan na natatanggap kaming rescue request at nagre-respond pa po kami hanggang ngayon. Pero I think we are now shifting our operations from rescue operations to relief operations. Inaasahan po namin na hanggat may baha ay patuloy na mahirapan, kinakailangan ng aming mga kababayan ng pagkain, ng tubig, maging ng damit. Ito yung una muna na necessity sa ngayon.
Mr. President, if I can speak on behalf of the province, kasi si Gov, I couldn't pull him dahil he's quite busy with his own operations kanina. Basically, Mr. President, for Camarines Sur, ang report ni Gov, wala na hong kailangan ilikas. Yung mga nakikita natin sa mga tahanan, what they're doing lang is they're waiting for the floodwaters to recede, pero ang hinihingi nila food. So that's why the province has mobilized both brigades to distribute the family food boxes of DSWD. So sa side ho ng province, wala na hong nililikas, more of food relay na lang using the boats po.
Very well. All right, but we have all of these, yes, all of these goods available. At saka na, we're seeing the pictures now of some of the relief efforts that are ongoing. Kahit na may baha pa rin, at least nakapasok na yung mga ating mga tao, together with some of the relief goods and some of the equipment that we need, yung mga water purifiers. How are we doing on the water supply? Because kahit baha, it's always the critical issue is water supply.
Mr. President, both the province and the mayor can confirm this. The water is becoming a struggle, but as mentioned, our partners, Manila Water and Maynilad, have already mobilized potable drinking water in gallons. We are currently working with the good people from the Air Force so that we can airlift these water gallons kasi medyo marami ho sila. The moment it lands, hopefully within today or tomorrow, then we should be okay because, Mr. President, marami-rami naman ho yung ibinigay ng Manila Water and Maynila. These are the 5 gallons per container or the 6 gallons per container. They answered our call and they're ready to mobilize already, Mr. President.
All right. Okay. So it's still accessibility that we're having to deal with, the lack of accessibility that we're having to deal with. Yes. All right.
Mr. President, if I can just reiterate, for the province side, the pictures you're seeing are the operations of the province. Sa pagkain ho talaga, they've been quite aggressive already. Governor Villafuerte, Congressman El Rey, they've been on the ground. They're using their boat brigades. Marami ho talaga silang umiikot ngayon na nag-ration ng pagkain. Dito kay Mayor Legacion, I think he's doing the same. But we assured him na the stocks are ready. Magkatabi naman kami ngayon. In fact, we're plotting out the withdrawal already of the boxes from our regional warehouses.
All right. Okay. That's well, that's understood. Okay. What other requirements? You make a good point about fuel. Is there anything else like that we need to be attending to?
Mr. President, the fuel kasi na-trap doon sa Millaor dahil naputol yung road because of the flooding. But yung province, they're already looking at recovery. So that's why I spoke with Secretary Kiko kanina about relayed to him the concern ng ng province, which Secretary Kiko said he'll take care of. And then sa Disudho, they're also working, I think, with the undersecretaries of Secretary Acuzar about rebuilding the homes. Nandun na ho yung mindset ng province on the recovery because they believe the water will recede hopefully this weekend. Kasi medyo may araw na ho dito, Mr. President. They said that it's the first time they've seen the sun in quite some time. So they're quite optimistic na bababa na ho yung tubig. So they're already in the recovery mode, Mr. President.
Very good. All right. Okay. Thank you. Anything else that you would like to report? How about
For me, Mr. President, na si Mayor Ata.
in the outside of Bicol? In the other areas, what is this? What is the response so far of the DSWD? Yung
Mr.
mga
President,
Central
if I can request
Luzon,
one
yung
slide
mga
down from
Central Luzon,
the presentation.
the Central Luzon provinces that have already declared calamity, Cavite and Batangas, what are we doing in those areas?
Yes, Mr. President. In the presentation that's flashed, we have already released a total of 150,000 family food packs nationwide. Mr. President, the numbers in Calabarzon are still coming in kasi kagabi lang namin nakukuha yung mga numero because the effects they started feeling the effects last night. But Mr. President, to assure you, in Calabarzon and in the Metro Manila corridor, we have close to around 250,000 family food packs ready for dispatch anytime. So, Mr. President, we're working with the local government units and the congressional offices. If they have the requirements, we keep on releasing. We've been talking to the LGUs, Mr. President.
All right, okay. That I don't think in the other areas we have such a problem with accessibility. Talagang sa Region 5 talaga kasi yung baha hindi umaalis. I was asking some of the locals, is there something more that we can do to bring the water down? O aantayin lang talaga natin hanggat bumaba? Wala tayong magawa para i-accelerate yung paglabas ng tubig?
Mr. President, sa parte po ng Naga, kasama na din po yung Milaor area, mukhang ito talaga yung parang basin. Dito bumababa lahat ng tubig na nagagaling sa upper portion, including those in Rinconada at from Bay. Mukhang maghihintay po talaga. Sana maganda yung panahon. And yun naman yung aming paniniwala. Baka mamaya and tomorrow mukhang possible na po yung highway sa Milaor. Matapos na magsagawa ng clearing operations yung DPWH, katulong yung City Engineer's Office ng Naga City.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think we continue to concentrate on Region 5 for now because they're the ones in most need. Everybody is in need. But the accessibility problem of Region 5 is a little bit more pronounced than all the other areas. All right. Okay. Thank you, Secretary Rex, for your report. I'd just like to bring up the point that Secretary Rex talked about is the fuel. This always happens pag walang access. What are we doing about that?
Sir, talking with the fellow cabinet members, just instructed OCD to find a road route in the Bondok Peninsula and then LCTs from Bondok Peninsula to Camarines Sur, where we can ferry actually fuel vehicles, fuel tankers, etc. So there will be a shuttle, food, water, and fuel, sir, via crossing the Bondok Peninsula, that body of sea, to Pasakaw.
Have they started to?
They will start today, sir.
Okay.
And airlift, sir. If
Nakaalis na sila or they will still?
they're still logisticizing it, sir. But by today.
Putting together. Everything.
Yes, sir. And may I say also, Mr. President, Philippine Air Force already was able to go into Naga and to Legazpi.
Yes.
And we will continue the air bridge to take advantage of any gaps in the weather now.
The things that are coming up, which we have experienced before, is probably the need for airlift capability mga sa rotary siguro kasi isolated areas kahit na hindi mapasok ng land vehicle, we should
Yes, sir.
try it at least because they're already in their second 2.5 days na sila sa Region 5.
Sir, the 205th Helicopter Wing and the 505th Search and Rescue Group are deploying all Rotary assets already, sir,
Alright.
to the area.
Okay. Yes, Secretary Tony.
Sir, if I may, in previous disasters such as Odette, we mobilized the private sector to locate their stocks in the area and please provide access to stocks already in the area. So, sir, fuel stocks sometimes are in depots and actually already in the proximate areas where they can actually be accessible. So, sir, if I may suggest, we could call on the private sector to release. They're here po, sir, represented today.
All right. Okay. Sekmani,
Yes, Mr. President. I think the only problematic section along the Maharlika Highway to reach Camarines Sur now is actually the section in Quezon. This is in the Lopez Catanawan section. When the last few days it was not it was closed to traffic, but as of now, heavy vehicles can now pass through, Mr. President. So I think there is a good chance for the vehicles now to pass through and go to Camarines Sur, Mr. President.
marami raw talagang marami ang landslide, that areas where they did not have landslides before. The former governor was just explaining to me sa Cavite, ganun. Hindi sa Cavite, sa Batangas, yung mga area na hindi pa nakakita ng landslide noon, nag-landslide na ngayon. So, I guess our problem, yung lupa is completely saturated. Wala nang talaga pupuntahan yung tubig. Anyway, all right, okay, thank you. I think next year, the response of the Department of Health to the Typhoon Kristine. Can we hear from Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to highlight the actions taken by the Department of Health. We've activated actually Code Blue. Code Blue is our highest response to our disaster in Cagayan Valley, in Bicol, and Ilocos. We maintain Code White in the NCR, in Central Luzon, Mimaropa, Western Visayas. We've actually held a command conference, and some of the reports that came in, we have most of the injuries actually came from the Bicol region, 15 deaths. The landslides po, Mr. President, I think it's very clear, yung landslide kasi they're the ones that actually cause death. So it's very important that we map out where the high-risk communities are para pag malakas ang ulan and when it's continuous rain, we evacuate them also early. Not only flood-prone, kasi yun yung dapat siguro nating makita. 11 of the deaths of the 15 are from Bicol, and half of them were from the landslide. Of the recorded injuries, mostly mga wounds ito, when people rescue out of their homes from floods, they get injured. So, of the hospitals po, we have 9 facilities with minor damages. No? Of the 2 big hospitals in Bicol Medical Center and Bicol Regional Medical Center in Albay, the one in Naga and one in Albay, are both functional, although we lost power and we also lost damage to the internet server of our Bicol Medical Center, but the hospitals are functioning. We have a couple of hospitals that are functional in Batangas, but cannot be accessed because of floods. So, yun po yung situation natin. Of the goods that we have deployed, we've actually sent out 97 million pesos worth of medical supplies and public health emergency supplies. We've also given out 36 million worth of water sanitation and hygiene. These are the blue jerry cans that we see in the evacuation centers. One can per family, and it's you just put one aqua tab, and it's potable also to replace our water filtration na hindi pa dumadating to provide drinking water for our people. Then we also have allocated 6.8 million for nutrition, 1.8 million for psychosocial support, a total of 142 million pesos, Mr. President. For the human resources, we've actually deployed our teams from the regional offices and the hospitals. So they're actually there. We usually start with the needs assessment. What we found is the highest illness reported is respiratory infection, Mr. President. Kaya maganda yung mga LGU na they built that compartmentalized because ang bilis ng spread of respiratory infection. Isang bata lang dyan may ubo, hawa-hawa na lahat. So some of the LGUs now put this compartmentalized per family so that the infections can be controlled. I've also asked our teams to distribute face masks kasi as we have more people in the evacuation centers, respiratory illness yung number one. Marami rin din tayong gastrointestinal illness and that's solvable by potable drinking water. So we distributed also hygiene kits. Alam nyo naman po, wala lang damit. They also need to take care of themselves, to clean themselves. So yung hygiene kit is a green bucket. It has soap, shampoo, sanitary napkin ng mga babae. We actually distribute that sometimes. We've also distributed, before the emergency, we actually heightened our health emergency advisories and information on social media. All the advisories about the illnesses you can get during times of the typhoon. And then we've also provided prophylaxis for our rescue workers. Sila yung at risk kasi. So we're providing them antibiotics for infections they can get during rescue operations. Yan lang po ang aking report, Mr. President. Basically, konti ang injuries and death for the magnitude of the disaster. And I thank the quick action of the Office of the President for suspending classes and work because that keeps people in their homes and safer rather than having work and then people getting trapped, injured, or so I think we can still go for improvement, especially for the landslides. Yun yung mataas po kasi ang mortality sa landslide. Yung drowning, mapiprevent natin yan pag na-rescue sila. Pero yung landslide, isang bahay, natabunan ng lupa, patay talaga yung buong family nun, Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. We'll just continue to respond. The first area that asked for medical help was again Naga and Legazpi, around Region 5, because marami nga silang casualty. And yun na nga, we haven't been able to go in yet. But we have the medicals that are in place are operating now. So how are we doing on communication, Gilbert? Bumalik na mga generally ang communication. I know power is going to take time, but
Sir, with us, we have OCD systems.
You have sufficient communication.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Sir, Mr. President, update lang po doon sa mga water purifiers.
Okay.
As of 10 a.m. po this morning, nakatawid na po ng Milaor yung team po natin na may dala pong water purifiers. Meron pa po tayong naiwan dito sa Metro Manila na about 30 water purifiers na we can deploy at any time. Naka-standby po, Mr. President. 40 po yung pinadala po natin and we still have around 30 na pwede pa pong i-deploy, Mr. President. As of 10 a.m., kasama na po yung team natin ng PDRRMO po ng CAMSUR, Mr. President.
So yung team ninyo, yung 50-person team, nakapunta nakapasok na?
Nakatawid na po na Milaor kaninang
Nandun na sila?
Yes, sir.
Nandun na sila?
As of 10 a.m. po, Mr. President. Naipit po kasi sila sa Lopez and then Milaor. Nagpalipas po sila ng gabi, kagabi. Then as of 9:30 po, nakatawid na po sila, Mr. President.
Okay. Alright. Yung mga gamit nyo na-deliver nyo palabas?
Opo, naitawid na po, nasa Naga City
Hindi,
Hall.
pero mula sa Naga, kasi ang mga nangangailangan sa labas din ng Naga, hindi lamang doon sa loob ng city.
Yes po, kasama na po ng PDRRMO ng CAMSUR and may dala rin po kami mga bangka, Mr. President, for deployment po.
Alright.
Mr. President, if I may, on landslides.
I think the near director.
Mr. President, on a lighter note naman po, malaki ang naitulong ng mga dams natin sa pag-mitigate ng baha. No? In the case of Magat Dam, nakapag-pre-release po kami, so napababa namin ng mga 8 meters yung level. So nung dumating na yung malakas na ulan, Ang inflow was 3,200 cubic meters per second. Ano? Napakalakas talaga. So, ang release na lang namin noon is mga around 700. So, na-mitigate po natin yung baha doon. Parehas din ang kwento niyan sa Halaor Dam. Itong ating pantabangan naman po ay nasa 14 meters pa naman yung kailangan niyang punuin. So, malaki rin po na itulong nito. And in the case of San Roque Dam, Sir President, nag-release ang Ambuklaw.
Nakita namin yung report kanina, yung the one that was put up earlier. Mukha namang na-control na mabuti yung level ng dam at na mayroon tayong nagawa ahead of time na para hindi tayo mabigla, and then we will release na naman kagaya na nangyari noon. So anyway, mabuti yun at let's maintain that standard procedure from now on pagka basta't may parating. Lalo na ngayon, mukha yung mga bagyo talagang ang daming tubig na dala. Kaya yun ang ating kailangan alalayan. All right, so let's move on now to the funding that will be required to support all of this relief and support and recovery for all of these areas. So we ask DBM, Sekmina, if you can.
Yes, Mr. President, good morning, and good morning to the members of the Cabinet. First slide, please. I will briefly show all our possible sources of funding. Next slide. Presented on the slide is a status of the NDRRM fund releases from 2024, GAA, and 2023 continuing appropriations. As of October 24, 2024, the NDRRM fund has a total available balance of 1.983 billion pesos, of which 1.845 billion is from our 2024 General Appropriations Act, and the remaining 139 million pesos is from 2023 continuing appropriations. However, from the remaining balance, we still have a pending request for QRF replenishment for SARO issuance in the total of 1 billion pesos, broken down as follows: DPWH, 1 billion pesos, DILG PNP, 25 million pesos, and DND OCT, 37.5 million pesos. The available balance of the NDRRMF after the issuance of ZARO for this QRF augmentation request will be 921.4 million pesos. Now on the QRF, based on the tentative report submitted by respective implementing departments and agencies as of September 30, 2024, the recipient agencies were able to obligate 14.7 billion pesos or 48.8% out of the total allocations received for QRF as of October 24, 2024 of the 30.093 billion pesos. The fiscal year 2024 allotment received for QRF is at 19.088 billion pesos, which is broken down as follows. For agency-specific QRF appropriations, it's 7.925 billion pesos, and for QRF replenishments from NDRRMF, it's 11.163 billion pesos. The fiscal year 2023 continuing appropriations of 11 billion pesos represents QRF unobligated allotments for fiscal year 2023. Now, on the next slide, we will show the utilization rates of recipient departments and agencies. To date, the slide shows that the DILG PNP was able to obligate a total amount received of QRF amounting to 58 million pesos. On the other hand, the DepEd OSEC, with the highest QRF allocation of 3.5 billion pesos, recorded the second lowest utilization with only 7.43%, slightly higher than the DILG BFP of 7.34%. Shown on this slide, Mr. President, are the balances of the QRF that are already within the departments. As you can see, Mr. President, for the Department of Agriculture, they still have more than 1.5 billion ready for usage. For DepEd, more than 3 billion for repairs of school buildings. DILG, Bureau of Fire, they still have budget. PNP, they've already used up their QRF. OCD, almost finished with 75%. DPWH, OSEC, they still have roughly 60% of their QRF fund for usage. DSWD, it's almost finished. I'm in touch with SecRex and just waiting for the request for the balance of QRF that you need. It's more than roughly, I think, 500 million pesos. I'm just waiting for the letter, Sec, and then we'll release it within the day. And then the DOH, sir, we still have funding, but let me know if you need more. And the DOTR, Philippine Coast Guard, 50% of their budget has been utilized. Now, for other funding sources, we all know that the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, we're in no less than 5% of the estimated revenue from local government units. Regular sources can also be used to support disaster risk management activities, including pre-disaster preparedness programs, post-disaster activities, and for the payment of premiums of calamity insurance. Of the amount appropriated, 30% should be allocated for respective QRFs, Mr. President. Under funding sources, Section 22 of all government departments, bureaus, offices, and agencies are authorized to use a portion of their appropriations to implement projects designed to address DRRM in accordance with guidelines issued by the NDRRMC in coordination with the Department of Budget and Management. For example, under the DPWH, they still have a balance of 4.38 billion, which I think they've been using it, that can cover maintenance of regularly performed on national roads and bridges throughout the year. The maintenance activities include, among others, various work categories such as temporary repairs of roadways, shoulder maintenance, drainage maintenance, replacement of pavements, among others. SecMani, this is on top of the QRF requirement that you've requested. And the same with the Department of Health, the MAIP. To date, we still have a balance of 11 million, Secretary. So I guess it's already downloaded to the respective regional offices. We hope that they'll be able to utilize, and then we'll be releasing, I guess, 10 billion. You have a pending request now of 10 billion pesos. It's for signature today, so we'll have it released today, Secretary, Mr. President. And another source could be the contingent fund. It has a balance of 10.33 billion pesos to date, Mr. President. The appropriation may be utilized for funding requirements of new and urgent activities or projects of the national government agencies, GOCCs, local government units that needs to be implemented or paid during the year, Mr. President. So we still have 10.33 billion of this. And assuming we need more, Mr. President, we still have, I just received a certification from the Bureau of Treasury, Department of Finance for unprogrammed appropriations. So assuming we need more funding, Mr. President, we can tap the unprogrammed appropriations. Rest assured, Mr. President and members of the Cabinet, that the DBM remains unwavering in the commitment to provide funds to the agencies that require support for programs focused on immediate disaster response and rehabilitation, Mr. President.
Right. So certainly the ones that are to the different agencies are already with them, so that's readily available. The other requirements, like siguro John Vic, yung mga QRF ng local, wala na yan. Ubus na yan, matagal na naubos yan. So they will need more support.
Yes, sir.
Para anyway, so doon natin kukunin doon sa not only the agencies but also the from the DBM kung ano pa yung mga kailangan natin. Now is the time to download all of the MAIC and AICs and UDA that we still have. All right. That that's pretty much it. There's just one thing I wanted to ask the experts. If there is another approaching weather system, we have to take that into account. Because kung aayusin natin, and then 3 days later, sisirain din ng susunod, sayang lang yung ginawa natin. At the same time, in those 3 days, kailangan ng tao na may daan, na may... how do we handle this so that we make maximum use of our resources? Sec Gilbert, maybe you have an idea on what is the concept, how we should apply our resources. Certainly, ang mga relief, yung mga rescue relief, wala na, hindi natin pwedeng i-delay yan dahil buhay na ng tao yan. So we just have to keep going in that. Now, when it comes to the rebuilding or repairing, all of these things, what are we have to think in the slightly, not short term. Paano ang handling natin dyan? Kasi yun ang inaalala ko, nangyayari, madalas mangyari yan eh. Bagong gawa yung kalsada or whatever, kaka-inaugurate, ribbon cutting lang natin, 1 week later, sira na dahil may dumaan na bagyo. That's what I would like to, hopefully to avoid.
Yes, Mr. President. I think, excuse me. The protocol that we are adopting in the department is once in response to calamities, actually, the first thing that we do is actually just to clear out the roadways, actually to restore
Well,
immediately
yun
traffic.
necessary yun kasi we need those thoroughfares para ipasok yung gamit at saka yung
Yes.
mga tao.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
that's what we're going to have to contend with.
And then after that, we have to look into the permanent restoration program for those damages, Mr. President. So to be more permanent, especially in yung mga vulnerable areas.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. But in all that we do, let's keep that in mind. Wimpy, you wanted to add something?
Yes, Mr. President.
Wimpy wants to...
Yeah, the time that you were sponsoring the Department of Housing and Urban Dev, there is an enumeration of the MHS policy on basic needs and the hierarchy.
Okay.
And that was designed precisely to respond to situations like this. So the priorities are as follows. It's water facilities that we have to concentrate on. So during these 3 days, we have to replenish water, and then the energy, including the fuel, and then the food, clothing, shelter, health, education, and then the rest is what was mentioned by DPWH. It's access, it's livelihood, it's recreation, and ICT, and the overall security where the PNP and the other security sector is concerned. So, demands-based approach po siya, and dun po yung tutukan ng government and the community. Protectionan yung 13 basic needs, and then let's prepare for the next.
Okay. All right. Well, my concern that I just spoke about fixing something that will just be destroyed a few days later, that also applies to power. Oo. Kaya
Yes, sir.
yan ang kailangan natin alalahanin. Anyway, it's not an easy situation. There's no simple answer to any of this. We'll just have to keep monitoring the situation and make sure always the rescue and relief are that cannot stop. It doesn't matter if there's another storm coming. We cannot stop. That cannot stop. And then the support that we are giving, that the SWD giving, is those who have been displaced, who are still in evacuation centers, or they are staying with outside of their own homes, wherever that might be, with relatives or friends. That also cannot stop. So those are the main elements, I think. Sa Agri, Sekiko, well, at what, nakapag-ani na ba sa How
Mr. President,
they're in the middle of harvest.
we have already harvested about, depending on each area, 60 to 70%. And actually, before the storm hit, a week before the storm hit, we accelerated harvesting and buying from NFA din. So, nakatulong naman yun, sir.
Yeah, so we'll have to make up for that 30 to 40% kung sakali na outright na destroyed.
Hopefully, hindi naman ho, but yes.
Oh, well,
We have
if-
enough stock, sir. Then we have Kadiwa trucks also going
Yes,
to
that's right,
Kamsur,
yes.
and we also have NFA rice ordered by the LGUs being deployed as we speak. Plus, to prepare for what is coming, we also instructed NFA to send additional rice above and beyond what was requested.
Oh, sige.
Thank you, sir.
And then we'll just keep me updated about the damages that that our people are seeing in terms of the agricultural sector. All right. Well, that's the situation now. What as we have already experienced, as we have experienced many times, there are phases to the thing. There's the rescue phase, then the relief phase, and then the recovery phase, where we start to bring our people back to their normal homes, residences. It is made much more complicated by the fact that lawak nung effect, napakalawak yung effect ng bagyo. So, what happened is that Bicol is in one phase, Central Luzon is in another phase, first Region 1, 2 will be in another phase. So it became complicated because ang laki ang pagkatama, tapos ang tama hindi sabay-sabay, iba-iba. At siyempre, dumaan ng dahan-dahan. So we just have to be more creative and be able to maximize our resources. All right, batay ko, nandyan na yung sundo ko. We're going to make an inspection. So, okay, just keep me informed, and whatever problems arise, just raise them up with me. And if not, actually, amongst yourselves, if you can solve it, let's do it that way, as quickly as possible. Just remember, there are people still in water right now. They are still flooded. They're walking around with water up to their waist. They have no water supply. They have no food. They have no place to stay. So if you think you're tired, think about what their condition is. So let's always keep that in mind. And as a last item, I'm happy to note that the other our partners in the private sector are here. There is the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation.
I'm over here, Mr. President.
There, yeah, that's right. There you are, and Arise from
Here,
the
Mr. President.
SRM group, and of course the Red Cross, who is always present at these things. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for the help that you will be providing. Okay, I think that's it for now. Maraming salamat. Thank you.